In our today's lesson, we will talk about communicative language teaching. Today, communicative language teaching is a modern and very useful teaching method. So, I'll talk about it now. What's communicative language teaching? Communicative language blends listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Communicative language is expression, interpretation, and negotiation of meaning. Is comprehensible and meaning-bearing. Is not first learning some vocabulary, then some grammar, then finding something. To use the vocabulary and grammar. It's not communication at the service of grammar learning. It's not rote repetition, the exchange of information in a grammar lesson, or simply oral expression. Change of roles for teacher and student. In traditional letters, in all the type of letters, there will be teacher and students. And between the teacher and student, traditionally teacher is authority, expert, control, figure who transmits knowledge. Authoritative knowledge transmitters. Lecturing is the task, the Atlas complex. Atlas supporting the heavens on their shoulders, full responsibility explanations. Traditionally, student is the passive audience, vessels into which the information is poured. Receptive rule, note-taking is the task. What's audiolingualism? Instructor was key figure. Habit formation through repetition, imitation, reinforcement, parrot, memorizing dialects, practicing sentence patterns, first language seen to interfere with ACL. Errors were evidence of bad habits. No attention given to comprehension. No opportunity to use the language in a meaningful, communicative way. Exchanging messages. Output was restricted. CLT. What's CLT? Provide students with opportunities to communicate using language to interpret and express real-life messages. Phases of CLT. Early CLT was restricted. It was communication with the authority figure asking questions. Students not parroting but creating an answer. Question-answer session with teacher in charge. Teacher asks questions, selects people, even finish the sentence, offers explanation, asks more questions, etc. Next phase of CLT. Students allowed to work in pairs and pose questions to one another. Peer work, but with the Atlas-like question and answer model. Even software answering grammar practice tends to be the real intent. Teacher monitors for focus on form rather than on communication and meaning. Next, phase CLT. Also, roles had changed. The activities still emphasized formal correctness, not communication. Controlled exercises plus more open-ended conversations. More natural feel, but teacher is still controlling. What's second language acquisition? Involves the creation of implicit linguistic system. It's complex and consists of different processes. It's dynamic but slow. Most L2 learners fall short of native-like competence. Skill acquisition is different from the creation of an implicit system. Comprehensible input. The language that learners hear that is meant to convey a message. The learner is to attempt to understand what's being said. Language embedded in a communicative interchange, no matter how trivial or important. The learner attending to the meaning in order to respond to the content or to perform a task. The learner receiving lots of input so they can build up an implicit linguistic system. Embedding clues into the input about the way language works, a critical factor in a language acquisition. Possible when motivation and a low-entity environment exists. Successful language acquisition. can't happen without comprehensible input. Provides consistent and constant exposure to comprehensible input. Learners need opportunities to use the language in communicative interaction. Having to use the language pushes the learner to develop communicative language ability. The hub of acquisition, input processing, how learners make sense out of the language they hear and how they get linguistic data. System change, accommodation, how learners incorporate a grammatical form into implicit system of the language they are creating. Restructuring, how the incorporation of a form can cause a ripple effect and make other things change without the learner ever knowing. Output processing, how learners acquire the ability to make use of implicit knowledge they are acquiring to produce utterance in real time. SEL is dynamic. As long as learners continue to get input, the implicit system they create evolves constantly. Acquisition is dynamic, it evolves, but it's slow. Takes years to build a system that is anywhere native-like. Particular kind of errors are made at particular stages. A structure evolves over time. Stages of development. Learners actively organize language in their heads independently of external influence. Certain kinds of errors and not others are made at certain times, and something produces certain patterns of L1 acquisition. Learners possess internal strategies for organizing language data, and the strategies don't obey outside influences. Food for thought. Skill acquisition is different from the creation of an implicit system. It's one thing to develop the implicit system. Being able to use it's different. Skill acquisition happens independently of the creation of the linguistic system. Languages are unteachable. We can't force or cause the creation of learners' implicit system. Not can we force the acquisition of speech-making procedures that are essential to skill development. We can only provide opportunities for acquisition to happen by providing chances to express real information, not merely information in drills. Now, I want to show you one interesting lesson plan according to today's communicative language teaching. Now, I'm going to introduce you the 4 skills about reading. Shopping hungry, psychology trick could still feel bad for choices. The theme, the name of the subject of the theme. There are lesson aims and lesson outcomes. By the end of the lesson, students will be better able to do this. By the end of the lesson, students will have these. Next, there are also anticipated difficulties and suggested solutions to these difficulties. And there have been a text about reading. Next, before getting into the reading lesson, the students may challenge introduction, then warmer to introduce the text. For example, in the warmer, teacher will tell or show headline of the text fully. It may be any kind of text according to the student's level. Next one is presentation of relevant vocabulary. You know, in reading text, there are lots of different and difficult words. So the teacher must show some target vocabularies which needed for comprehension for the reading text. In this stage, teacher will work 3 main things: meaning, form, and pronunciation of target vocabulary. In meaning stage, teacher will the meaning of the target vocabulary and give some examples relevant to the situation. Next one is practical activity exploring the text. This stage's aim is to give good opportunity to students to get general overview of the text by skimming. In this task, teacher will distribute text to the students and give them these questions about the text. Next stage is reading for gist. Next stage is activity focusing on detailed understanding of the text. Next, review of vocabulary, end of lesson. End of lessons aim to consolidate and have some fun at the end of the lesson. Students should answer the questions which are given by opposite team and show good teamwork and help to their members. It's rational, lesson rational. And next, bibliography. And there are figures. Vocabulary, matching heading exercise, scanning activities, multiple choice questions, review of vocabulary, and the end of the lesson. They are all about today's lesson. Thanks for watching. See you next time.